Hi, Grandpa Birch here with another book for you. It's Pete the Cat. See? Falling for Autumn. Pete the Cat, Falling for Autumn. Pete the Cat on the farm. Here we go. It's the first day of fall, and Pete the Cat is feeling blue. He's really blue. I like summer better, he says. In summer, I can swim, I can surf, and I can play at the beach. Maybe you just need to remind yourself of all the things you love about autumn. Mom suggests, Pete says, I'll try. Pete finds Grandma in the kitchen. She's baking delicious pumpkin pies. The whole house smells sweet and spicy. After the baking is done, Pete picks a squat orange pumpkin from the counter and slips it into his backpack for a souvenir. He slips one into the backpack. Backpack is what you carry on your back when you go to school. Pete loves helping Grandma bake pumpkin pies, but he loves helping eat it even more. Next, Pete heads to town. He heads to town for the corn maze. Pete and his friends wander through the long, twisty paths made of tall corn stalks. Do you see? As he leaves, Peter plucks a golden corn cob from the maze and places it inside his backpack. Do you see his backpack down here? That's where he has one of the pumpkins. Do you remember? The best part of the corn maze is getting lost and having to start all over again. Then Pete visits Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa here. Who is knitting on the porch. Grandpa helps Pete use the knitting needles to knit the yarn into cool patterns. Together, Pete and Grandpa make a long, cozy scarf for Pete to wear. When they're done, Pete chooses a little ball of leftover yarn and places it inside his backpack. Do you see this backpack here? Next, Pete goes to the hay ride in the park. Pete, Bob, Mom, and Dad, and Grandpa all pile into a wagon filled with hay, and they go on a bumpity ride around the park. Woohoo! Pete says. Do you see them bumping around? At the end of the ride, Pete grabs a handful of sweet-smelling hay from the wagon and stuffs it into his backpack. Do you see his backpack? I imagine it's getting full by now. Pete heads over to the apple orchard where he and Callie go apple picking. They eat sweet apple donuts and drink hot apple cider and fill their buckets with apples, all different shapes and all different sizes. Before he leaves, Pete chooses a round red apple and drops it into his backpack. Boy, his backpack's getting full. Next, Pete stops by the park and he plays touch football with Bob and their friends. Pete scores a touchdown and everyone cheers. After the game, Pete grabs Bob's football and stuffs it into his backpack. It barely fits. "Bob, won't you mind if I borrow this?" Pete says. At least he asked him to put it in his backpack. Finally, Pete heads back home, but he stops in his front yard, which is covered in bright leaves falling from the trees. Pete helps his dad rake the leaves into the big, colorful mounds. Then Pete runs and jumps into the leaf piles. Boy, I remember that being all kinds of fun. What do you bet? He's going to put it in his backpack, don't you think? After he's done jumping in the middle of the leaves, Pete picks a bunch of red and gold and orange leaves and stuffs them into his backpack. Pete's backpack is bursting with fall souvenirs. He can't wait to show Mom. "I love autumn," Pete says. "Wonderful," says Mom. "You know, these would make great decorations for Thanksgiving." So Pete helps Mom fill a basket with all of his mementos. They place the basket at the center of the table. "You did a great job, Pete," says Mom. "It's beautiful," says Dad. "Is that my football?" asks Bob. Just then the doorbell rings. Uh-oh, he got caught with the football. You wouldn't take your buddy's football, would you? The Thanksgiving guests are here. All of Pete's family and friends gather around the dining room table. They tell stories, laugh at jokes while they eat. Everyone is having a great time. It's the kids' table and the grown-ups' table. What do you bet? Pete looks around the table and smiles. He loves lots of things about autumn, but Pete knows what he loves most of all year long. He loves his family and he loves his friends. Do you see? The end. Here you go. It's the first day of autumn, and Pete the cat isn't ready for the change of seasons until he discovers all the wonderful things about autumn. From pumpkin pies to corn mazes to hay rides, apple picking, Pete enjoys the different delights that autumn brings. He realizes change may not be that bad after all, especially if you experience it with family and friends. Grandpa Birch loves you. Hope you had a wonderful time reading the book with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.